Over the course of 10 years of trying to grow a B2B SaaS company, I tried 3 times to hire an SDR team, and it wasn't until the 3rd time that I actually got it right. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to think about when is the right time to hire a sales development team and what has to be true, how to back your way into the daily and weekly targets they need to have to make sure that this turns out to be the cash machine you are looking for. First off, a couple of things. I'm assuming that when you ask a question, should I hire an SDR? You're talking about someone who's going to pick up the phone and either dial outbound to book sales appointments or answer inbound leads and still be booking demos. So this is purely someone to set appointments for your account executive. I would never hire only one SDR. I would always hire 2. It's a very difficult role to hire for. It's a transient role. You're gonna wanna make sure that you hire 2 at a time to ensure that you at least have 1 on target. The second is I would never hire an SDR if my annual contract value wasn't higher than $8K per year if I'm doing outbound. And that is the absolute minimum. It's a much better fit if you're doing 20, 30K. Makes more sense to do outbound, and then minimum 5K if you're doing inbound. If these are warm leads coming in, you're doing a great job at organic marketing or paid marketing, you have marketing qualified leads coming in that you can call. It makes sense if we can book them at a high volume if it is at least north of 5K. And then the third criteria would be that you really have to know the numbers. So I'm going to teach you in this video how to do a bottoms up analysis to say how many more demos and how many more deals closed do we need to make sense to staff an SDR team of 2 people. First off, let's just say that without any SDRs right now, we are scheduling 30 demos. We have a show rate of 70%. That means that we actually conduct 21 demos. We're closing 30% of those. That equals 6 new clients for new MRR of 4,800. And again, we're going to assume we've got an annual contract value of someone's paying us about $800 a month. That's going to be just shy of 10K on the year. So let's talk through the math of hiring a new SDR. A new SDR is going to cost about market average, depending on where you're at. And you can certainly do it for less than this, but we're going to use the number of $70,000 of on target earnings. So that's going to include the base and then whatever bonuses. When we're forecasting, we're always going to forecast for them to be on target. Doesn't really make sense for us to forecast for them to be under target, or else we wouldn't have hired them. So 70K in OTE, that equals about $5,833 per month. Now you got to factor in taxes, insurance, any benefits. So I'll typically take whatever I'm going to pay the employee and multiply that by 1.2 to get my real cost of the dollars they're going to leave the building to have this person. And then we're going to have 2 people. We're going to hire a minimum of 2. Don't go hiring 1 SDR. I promise, I'll save you the pain. Don't do it. That is going to mean you're going to spend about 14K, just shy of 14K a month on your SDRs. So, or $14,000 are going to leave the building every month. How much do I need to bring in for this to be a positive investment? Typically, I'm going to target when I'm hiring for a new sales position, I'm going to look at minimum about 5x ROI on the year for that particular hire. So if I'm spending $14,000 per month, I want to bring in, to get a 5x ROI over the course of a year, I want to bring in $70,000 in annual contract value every single month to make sense for those $14,000 going out. So I spend $14,000 this month, I get $70,000 I collect over the course of a year. That's going to get us into a bigger conversation whether you're bootstrapped or you're funded. There is a limit to, how much can I pay out and how quickly do I get that cash back? But we'll leave that for another video. Let's assume that we've got access to capital. We can spend $14,000 in a month and we can get back to $70,000 ACV. That means that we need to bring in 7 new targets above and beyond what we are currently doing right now. We need to bring in 7 new clients. So let's go up and look at what has to be true. This is that bottoms up analysis. So I need to make sure that above and beyond the 6 that I'm bringing in, now I need 13, which means that instead of 4,800 in new MRR a month, I'd be bringing in 10,400. That's the fun part, looking at the growth potential. Next, we're going to look at our close rate is probably going to suffer. It's not going to be the same when we start going outbound. We're going to bring in people a little bit colder. We're doing all 30 of our scheduled demos right now through inbound leads. We can't assume that we're going to have the same show rate and the same close rate. So I'm going to factor in a little bit lower close rate. So going from 30% to 25%, that means that I need 52 conducted demos, people that showed up, they were qualified, we actually demoed the product. I'm going to assume that my show rate is going to suffer by about 10%. 60% would be a number I'd be happy with. It's not uncommon to see this as low as 45 or 55% as you're trying to figure this out. So I'm probably being more optimistic here. I'll say as a general principle, when I'm doing this, I will probably create a couple scenarios like good, better, best. And I'm going to make sure that this works in every fashion. Typically in business, things are going to take twice as long and cost twice as much. So while I want to build a realistic base case, I'm then going to say what happens if this doesn't perform well and what happens if it performs even better to kind of get that upper and lower limit. So if I had a 60% show rate, then I'm going to need to book 87 demos. And so now we can say, okay, to get 57 more demos scheduled on how many more inbound leads do I think that I'm going to need to bring in? How many phone calls do I think that my SDRs are going to need to make? Then you can even continue your way up the bottoms up analysis. And I'd encourage you to do so to say, how many phone calls, what is our reach rate going to be? So for every time that someone picks up the phone, or how many times we need to send an email for us to get a reply, how many replies till we get a demo, and you can work your way all the way up to say, how many activities does an SDR need to hit on a daily basis for us to make sure that we have the volume at the top of the funnel to make sense all the way through the bottom of the funnel. So I hope this helps you answer the question and think through what needs to be true for you to hire an SDR. If you got any questions, hit me up. I love jamming on this stuff. Hope this helps. Talk soon.